So in AR, you have a total bill of $76.40. In order to comply with the new Medicare regulation, we have to add this $3 into the visit line. So in insurance processing, your venipuncture will show at $3. Your rural health visit will show at $76.40. The $73.40 plus the $3, giving you a total claim of $79.40. There's our inflated claim. It's $3 higher than what our bill was. So we have also learned that you don't have to have the 521 as the first revenue code on the claim. UB always prints in revenue code order, and that is acceptable to continue to print it in revenue code order, which is, I think, how everybody generates it. So there's no change in that at all. So this is just a medical visit. We started with an easy one, just a medical visit with a venipuncture. So going into Centric and into insurance processing, and I'm going to do an enter edit UB. And add my episode. Oops, missed the last digit there. And so what you'll see here is that I have a claim out here on 109.70135. Oops, I missed it by one digit there. Let me try that one more time and get my 6 in there. And you'll see I have my claim out here for the $79.40. I mimicked the example that Medicare provided for us. So down on 42 and 49, I had to manually go in, highlight my $73.40, which is what this originally was, had to edit it, and change my total to $76.40. That's the step that you will have to do on any claim that have additional services that aren't preventive and are listed out with the HCPCS code. Now, we don't want you to have to check every rural health clinic. That would be insane. So we are working on a report that would provide a list to you of the episodes that had additional services and that you would need to review. Yes.
This is Dana at Pender. We've got a question for you. We're a provider-based RHC.
Okay.
And so for that example that you gave with the venipuncture, that would be split off and billed on an 851 for us.
Okay. So that venipuncture is just an example of a charge. There could be other charges besides that.
Okay, because I was like, oh no, this is okay.
No. Nope, that's all right. I'm glad you asked. It was just an ambiguous example of the venipuncture is all, but you're correct. Yeah, yours would still be split out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, good question. So more to come on the report. That is something that's being looked at right now, is to provide a report so you wouldn't have to look at every claim. So we'll give you an update as soon as we know more. We have a second example, which is medical service with preventive services. So basically the same rules apply, and what we've done here is we still used our $3 venipuncture. We had our $73.40 visit charge here, and then we had a preventive service as well. Your preventive service, as you can see up here, is reported with an additional 52X service line. So you'll see here it's coming down with the 52X service line. Our venipuncture still has a 300 on it. So when I go to the next page to look at our charges, we'll see our visit charge, our venipuncture, and then we have a screen for $38.67. So our AR bill is $115.07. When you look at the claim, we've taken the $3 venipuncture and rolled it up into our visit, so it's $76.40. But the $38.67 was a preventive visit or preventive service. So remember, the formula is all charges less preventive services will equal your visit line total. So this claim is still higher than the bill by $3. We have a preventive service only encounter example. So using the same preventive service we did in the last example, but no qualifying visit outside of the preventive service, no venipuncture, is much easier to review. The one thing you need to know is since it is a preventive service, your frequency edits will apply. So if they only get this preventive service once a year, then of course that will be checked to ensure that the patient hasn't had it in the last 12 months before this visit. So the way that it looks in Healthland is there's a charge for $38.67. That's your bill total. And the claim is $38.67. So it's the one time our charges and our claim are going to match. And of course it will match if you just have a qualifying visit with no other charges. It will always match then too. Your bill will equal your claim if there's no additional charges. Just an example of a mental health service claim. So here we've got a mental health visit, and then we have a pharmacological consult also, which is an additional service, but obviously not a preventive service, so it has to be rolled into the mental health visit amount. So our codes have changed now. They're 900 since it's mental health. So when we look at the Centric side, we put in our visit at $85.21. We have our additional service of $25.42. So our AR bill is $110.63. When we look at the claim, we had to roll that $25.42 amount into our visit total. That's $110.63 on the visit line and $25.42 on the second line. And notice as I'm going through this, they all have the HCPCS codes. All of your lines will have HCPCS codes on them now for your rural health clinic. So our claim total again is higher than our bill by $25.42.
That's all they have done.
There's other examples here, multiple medical visits. We had a procedure as well as a rural health clinic visit on this one. So again, it's an additional service. You're not eligible for payment on that service in addition to the visit. It's included in the visit charge. So when we look at the Centric side, we see that we do have the visit at $73.40, and we do have the additional service provided, and that was $109.92. So our bill is $183.32. But since this is an additional service and it's not preventive, we have to add it to our visit line. So our claim is $183 for the visit, and the $109 is still listed because it has to be out there with the CPT. And so now our claim is actually $109.92 higher than our bill in AR. So it's all about reporting to Medicare and what they want to see. And we had some suggestions that Medicare wants this all rolled up into one line because that's what they pay by. And so they not only want the CPT codes, which is coming from the Affordable Care Act requirement, but they also want to see everything in total for what they would pay.
Total charge up here plus the addition.
Oh.
Okay, so something. They're under that.
Okay, and then we have another example here that talks about the supplies and services furnished incident to the RHC visit. So those are considered RHC services. They're included in the payment of the qualifying visit, and they are not separately payable as standalone services. So your qualifying visit line has to include the total for all of the services besides the preventive. And here they do state that rural health clinics can report incident to services if I can. We're getting some chatter in the background there, so if you could mute your phone, that would be appreciated. So you'll see here the rural health clinics can report on all valid revenue codes except the ones they list here. So any services incident to the rural health clinic visit can be for any revenue codes but these. So we have several listed here as examples. We have a vaccine and an administration fee. We still have our venipuncture and our office visit, 7340 visit. We're back to medical. So in Centric, we had our visit, our venipuncture, a vaccine and an administration fee for $141.11. So none of these are preventive. We have to roll them up into our office visit line. So when you look at the bottom here, our visit's $141.11, which is our total bill in AR, and yet each of the other services is listed. So, I apologize, my phone was off earlier. And so we now have a claim that's $67.71 higher than your bill. So those are the end of the examples. I want to stop and take questions before we go into setup. And you can send those via chat or question and answer, or you can just ask them out loud. I'm going to go ahead and just unmute everyone. And then everyone will be able to answer questions vocally if they prefer.
I have a question.
Yes, please go right ahead.
How will this affect, like, the secondary billing for, provider-based clinics?
I mean, how do we undo what we did for Medicare?
Okay, so a Medicare patient goes to the clinic and then, usually, like,
You are no longer muted.
Medicare will pay and cross it over to the secondary. Is that still going to happen, or?
Yes, that will still happen. Medicare will still be crossing claims over to secondary.
Okay.
So they have the individual service lines, so they're still able to pass all that on. When we send the 837 file over to Medicare, it will list each of the lines individually, but the visit line will be inflated. So you'll see in a few minutes when we look at the remittances you'll be getting from Medicare, they're going to use a 97 claim adjustment reason to balance out that extra amount so that you can actually tell it matches what the bill you have matches when you take out those 97 codes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
He's Val.
Hi, Val.
Hi. Got a question on the pending CMS rule when we hold, like, some of them procedures for 30 days prior or afterwards. When we add them to a qualifying visit line, do we use the date of the qualifying visit or the date that, like, the earwax removal would have been done?
You do it on the date of the visit. It all has to be under the visit date.
On the visit date, the
qualifying visit, or the one 30 days before that just had the procedure code?
No, it's the one with the qualifying visit.
okay.
Mm-hmm. And what they're anticipating, or what we've learned from iBailey at least, is that they may be coming out with a modifier that you can put on those visits that are non-qualifying, and they'll be paid that way. And they anticipated that would be I forget which quarter here in 2016, they anticipated adding something like that. So that's the latest we've heard on that.
Peggy, this is Christy.
Yeah, Christy.
I've got a quick question on the release that you got this morning. You said that those codes would be qualifying visits, but that they wouldn't pay them until October 1st.
Right.
So will they hold those claims, or those services will be considered non-payable until October 1st?
They'll be considered non-processable.
So we're better off with holding those claims until October 1st.
I would think so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Peggy, I have a question on your example 5, multiple medical services. With the release this morning, 12002 now becomes a qualifying visit. Does it still, so you have 2 qualifying visits on this example, do you still need to total them together?
I do not know the answer to that. If anybody on does, go ahead and speak up. I would think it would be two separate lines without totaling it together, but I don't know.
Right. There's actually an RHC meeting on March 29th where CMS may be able to better answer some of those questions.
Okay, who was that asked the question?
That was Aaron Keene at Norton County Hospital.
Okay. I will take a look and see if I can find that. If not, I can bring it up at the CMS meeting if no one else does and find out what the answer to that is.
Okay, thank you.
Someone did point out that the calculation was wrong on 6, and it is. We determined that as well. When we looked at the example, I think it was like $30 off if I remember, but they didn't add up everything correctly. So I don't remember the difference, but we had found that also that the total was not right. So it should be the $73.40, $3, $59.71, and 5. It should be $141.11. So it is not, it's like they left off the $3. So this is a Medicare actual from their MLN Learning Network, but we had determined it was off as well. So good catch.
Peggy, I had one more question.
Okay, let's talk about the setup on the billing side. Now, again, once you make these changes in the setup, this is how it's going to bill. So complete as much of March as you can on your rural health clinics. The first thing we have to do is in our patient class file. And so I'm going to go, you have the slides and you have the guide, but I'm going to go directly into the patient registration and into the billing module where we're going to be making these changes. So under patient registration and master files, you'll make the changes to your patient class file for your rural health clinic patient class. So I have one here called Glenwood Clinic that's an RHC, and yours should look like mine when you finish your changes. The 3 changes are rural health clinic has to be unchecked. Checking the rural health clinic bundles all your charges together under the 521, and it also uses the bill type 711 automatically. So when we uncheck the rural health clinic here, it won't automatically bundle it under one line with a quantity of 1. If you have your 521 revenue code set so that it doesn't print by procedure code, and this wouldn't be checked, it would still bundle under the 521, but it would not have 1 as a quantity. That's all a feature of rural health clinic billing within Centric. So uncheck your rural health clinic, check print UB by procedure codes. That's how you'll get those HCPCS codes on the claim, is that you will have to check the print UB by procedure. And then make sure you probably all have 711 in your bill type. It's a required field. But if you don't, go ahead and make sure that you fill that out, because you want to make sure that it picks that bill type up that it won't automatically as a rural health clinic. Now, one of the things that we talked about also is this is great to get this set up for Medicare, but what about Medicaid? Because the requirements haven't changed for Medicaid, they've only changed for Medicare. So we're going to talk about that as we get a little bit further into the setup here. We'll talk about Medicaid too. But for Medicare, those are the changes that are needed to the patient class file. The other changes are in billing. So in master files in billing and in your revenue codes master, we'll first take a look at the 521 revenue code. We want to make sure now that we've checked the box in the patient class to print by procedure code, we have to make sure that our rural health clinic 521 code is not set to bundle. So you don't see it on